So for our second type of word problem, our first one was the numbers. The second one are rectangles and triangles. So we're going to be drawing shapes for everything with these type of questions. Question number 1 says the length of a rectangle is 8 centimeters longer than twice the width of the rectangle. If you guys think back to grade 9, we did do questions like this in grade 9 when we were talking about length and width. The only difference is now for questions here, we're going to end up getting quadratics when we start to solve them. So let's begin by drawing out our shape, which is going to be a rectangle. Can you guys hear her? I don't know what she wants. Are we gonna have tests tomorrow? Nope, no tests, virtual. So we'll worry about assessments and stuff after we come back to school. You guys, 1 second, hold time. Okay, so I've drawn my rectangle and now let's start putting in our information. Obviously, because we're talking about length and width, it's probably a good idea to use L and W for our letters. It says the length of a rectangle is 8 centimeters longer than twice the width. So how exactly are we going to do this? Well, here I have my length and here I have my width. And I'm going to think about it. And I know the length of a rectangle is 8 centimeters longer than twice the width. So if the width is W, how do you represent 8 centimeters longer than twice the W? How exactly do you think we're going to write that? Think about it. 8 centimeters longer than twice the W. I'm basically trying to figure out an equation where I can have L is equal to 2W plus 8. Perfect. Yeah, it's going to be 2W plus 8. Just going to center that. So the length is going to be 2W plus 8. That is representing 8 centimeters longer than twice the width. You could have written it as 8 plus 2W as well. All right, so now I've kind of figured out where everything is going. I need a let statement. My let statement is going to be let L, it's just the usual one. So let L represent length and W represent width. Now the question is talking about area. And we know the formula for area of a rectangle is area is equal to length times width. Okay, so we're just getting all of our information together before we can start solving it. I realize I actually have a lot of room on this sheet, so this can be moved down just a little bit. Okay, so let's start putting all of this information together. So I know area is equal to length times width. I've been told that the area of this rectangle is 384, so I'm going to write that right over there. I know my length is the same as 2W plus 8, so I'll write that right here. And I know my width is just W. Now, I know this question is written in a kind of a different way, but really if you want to rewrite it, this is what it looks like. 384 is equal to W times 2W plus 8. It's just a distributive question. That W at the end, if you write it in the front, then you can clearly see it's a distributive question. So let's go ahead and distribute that W. We're going to get 2W squared plus 8W. And like I said, this question will end up having a quadratic. And if we move the 384 over to the other side, we can see that it's a quadratic. So it's going to be 2w squared plus 8w minus 384. Since this is grade 10 and since this is the trig unit, if you don't end up getting a quadratic when you do a question, like if you don't get something where it's something x squared plus something x plus a number, then you have likely done something wrong, because all of these questions will end up getting something where you have to factor it or use a quadratic formula. All right, so just like before, let's figure out if we can factor this. We're going to factor out a 2. We're going to get w squared plus 4w, what is that? 384 divided by 2, 1, 2, 18, 9, and 2. So minus 192. And again, you use whatever you're comfortable with, but I'm basically thinking of two numbers that are 4 apart. So for example, I might try and do 10 times 14. I know that's 140, which is not enough. Then I might try doing 11 times 15. So 11 times 15 gives me 165. That's still not enough. Then I might try doing 12 and 16. So 12 times 16 is 192, and those are my two numbers. So when you're factoring, you're trying to think of two numbers that multiply to give you 192, but add or subtract to give you 4. And I use my calculator to figure out that 12 times 16 does give me 192. And obviously 12 and 16 subtracted are 4. So I'm going to have a W here, a W here. And to get positive 4, this needs to be a plus and this needs to be a minus. Now, you guys are in luck, because the great thing about length and width questions is that if you get a negative number, you can actually discard that right away. We can't have a negative width. We could have a negative integer. So in the previous examples, we had to keep both of our positive and negatives. But here, as soon as you get a negative number, it can't work. It will not work. So you just cross it out and you just work with the positive number. So if I were to solve this, this would be W is equal to 12. And this would be W is equal to negative 16. And obviously, the negative 16 is not going to work. So maybe I don't want to be like vicious and crossing it out. I'm just going to write a big X beside it. So the only answer we think that is going to work is W is equal to 12. That means the width is equal to 12. Just like before, we need to do a little check. And in order for us to do a check, I am just going to redraw my triangle. And honestly, it doesn't matter how you do your check. You don't even need to draw it. If you wanted to just check in a different way, totally fine. I'm going to redraw my triangle and I'm going to write in the information. So I know my width is equal to 12 because that's what we just calculated. And now my length is going to be 2 times W plus 8. If you wanted to show that work on the side, you could. I'm just going to do it right over here. So 2 times 12 plus 8, which is going to give me 32. Right? Because 2 times 12 is 24. 24 plus 8 is 32. So we think the length, by the way, I should probably write W is equal to 12. So W is equal to 12. If you're wondering why I'm not writing units, honestly, I just leave my units for the very end when I'm writing my therefore statement. Okay, and so now to keep checking, area is equal to 32 times 12. And you're going to use your calculator, and we're hoping we're going to get 32 times 12, and we end up getting 384, maybe I should add some units, centimeters squared. So that solution is correct. It's the only answer we can get. And so our therefore statement is going to say just that. Therefore, by the way, the question was asking, find the length and width. So therefore, the length is 32 centimeters and the width is 12 centimeters. I input 12, first of all, to figure out what the length is, because if my width is 12, then I can put that here and figure out what the actual length is, and then to do my check. Yeah, because to check, you need to make sure if you have a length of 32 and a width of 12, when you multiply those together, you should get the area that they've said in the question, which is 384. Okay. All right, question number 2 is the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle is 50 meters and one side of the triangle is 10 meters longer. That shouldn't say that, it should say than the other. Find the length of each side. Okay, so let's begin. Oh, you know what I don't like about this? This program doesn't have any right angle triangles. They only have like these isosceles triangles. So thanks, guys. Wait a minute. So does that mean it was watching me? Does that mean I was recording me struggling to draw the triangle? Is that what happened? Great. Oh, I hate when I struggle on video. I don't care if I do it in live class. Okay, so if you were watching that, I'm struggling to draw my triangle, whatever. Here's the beautiful triangle now. So 50 meters is the hypotenuse. X is one side, X plus 10 is the other. I'm going to go ahead and write my let statement, which is going to be and what is my let statement going to be? Well, I have an X over here. So really it's just going to be let X represent one side of the triangle. Okay, so for the previous question, we had a really good formula, which was area is equal to length times width. Do you guys know of any formulas that we can use for a triangle to help us figure out what is happening? So how can I relate all three of these sides given that it's a right angle triangle? What formula have you guys heard of or know of that could help us do that? Amina got it right. Shweta got it right as well. It's going to be the Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to be using the Pythagorean theorem to solve this question. What is hypotenuse again? Hypotenuse is just the longest side. So if this is a right angle triangle, it's just the side that is across from that right angle. Okay, so you can assign arbitrary letters like A, B, and C or whatever you want. Really, what Safir got it right. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. The Pythagorean theorem is basically the square of one side plus the square of the other side is equal to the square of the next side. How come now, whenever I draw a circle, it's becoming a perfect circle? But before, wait, if I draw a triangle, oh my gosh, how did that happen? So annoying. Why wasn't that happening before when I was struggling on video? But okay. All right, so we're going to take the first side, which is going to be x squared, plus the second side, which is going to be x plus 10 squared, is equal to the hypotenuse, all of it squared. Is 50 c squared of c? It's going to be 50 squared. So one more time, what I did was I took one side and I squared it, plus the second side and I squared it, is equal to the hypotenuse and I squared it. And if you want to write a helpful note to yourself, just write that this is using the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so just like before, this is going to require us to expand, move around. I'm going to go over to the side so I can expand x plus 10, all of it squared. So let's just use this. X plus 10 squared is the same as x plus 10 times x plus 10, which is going to be x squared plus 10x plus 10x plus 100. And that reduces to x squared plus 20x plus 100. Okay, so now I'm going to bring that back over here, and I'm going to get x squared plus x squared plus 20x plus 100 is equal to 2,500. Move everything to one side, simplify. So it's just going to be 2x squared plus 20x. And then this is going to be 100 minus 2,500, which is just going to be negative 2,400 is equal to 0. I kind of skipped showing that step. All I did was move the 2,500 to one side to make it minus 2,500. So 100 minus 2,500 is negative 2,400. We can definitely take out a greatest common factor here, which will make the question so much easier. Minus 1,200 is equal to 0. Okay, so again, what are you doing here? You are going to be trying to multiply two numbers that multiply to give you 1,200, but add or subtract. So like everyone, you had the right idea. You're picking 10 numbers apart. So for example, you may, like your thought process might have been, okay, well, let's write 10 and 20. Those are 10 apart, but 10 times 20 is 200. It's way too small. Let's go up a little bit. Let's try 20 and 30. Those are 10 apart, but again, that only equals 600. You keep trying this, and eventually you're going to get to 30 times 40. 30 times 40 is 1,200, and they are 10 numbers apart. So we can easily guess that the numbers are going to be 30 and 40. So x and 30 and 40. And to get positive 10, we're going to have plus 40 and minus 30. 112 can work. They'll definitely give you 1,200, but and I think you recognize that because you said, oh, wait, but they just won't be 10 apart. So just be mindful of that. Yeah. Okay. So now when you solve this, you're going to get x is equal to 30, and this is going to be x is equal to negative 40. But because this is a triangle, can we have negative 40 as an answer? Definitely not. You can't have a negative, like a negative length. So the only answer we're thinking we're going to have is x is equal to 30. Could you also do positive 40 and negative 30? Yeah, and that's actually what we ended up putting in the brackets, right? We put positive 40 here and negative 30 here. Does that make sense, Shweta?
But then when I would set it to 0, I'd get the opposite. Would that be okay?
You wouldn't, because do you mean like x plus 30 and x minus 40?
No. Oh no, I meant like I got x plus 40 and then x minus 30 in the bracket.
Which is, yep, and that's what I got as well.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying like in the brackets you got 30 and then 40. I did 40 and then 30.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and check our work. We're hoping that this actually ends up being the right solution. I'm gonna see if it's gonna, like, if I draw a triangle, will it make it really nice? Oh, that's so beautiful. Isn't that just so amazing? I love when I learn to do something new, and then now I'm just going to overkill it and use it all the time. All right, so x is equal to 30, which means I'm going to put a 30 over here. I know the hypotenuse is already 50. And then the bottom side length has to be x plus 10. So if x is 30, 30 plus 10 is 40, which means that side length is going to be 40. And in order for us to check our work, we're going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem and see what we get. So just a little bit more work down here. For the Pythagorean theorem, I'm just going to go 30 squared plus 40 squared. And I'm hoping when I do that, I end up getting 50 squared. So 30 squared, 900 plus 40 times 40, which is going to be equal to 2,500. And I know 50 squared is 2,500. And so this answer does work. Our side lengths are going to be 30 and 40 and 50. What's the question asking? It says find the length of each side. Okay, so for our very final answer, we're gonna have, therefore, the side lengths are, we probably want to bring our units back, so they're in meters. It's gonna be 30 meters by 40 meters by 50 meters. I think it's lagging just a little bit. And that's the end of the solution. We're actually done after this question scenario, so yes. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've done so far? Does it make sense? Okay, let me stop I won't stop the recording yet. So your homework, please don't get like overwhelmed. I realize it's a lot of questions. There are actually 4 rectangle problems. So the first 4 are all rectangle problems, and the answers are on the side. I think there are 1 or 2 that are a little bit tricky, but just like today, we're going to take everything up tomorrow. And then you also have 4 triangle problems. So I know 8 problems seems like a lot. However, we're done a little bit earlier. And so I don't feel that bad. Okay, so let me stop the recording now.